When it comes to divisive casting in Hollywood franchises, there is almost no character more divisive than Batman. As hard as it might be to believe now, people didn't want Michael Keaton to don the cape and cowl in the 80s. Not to mention when the internet nearly broke in 2012 when the news came out that Ben Affleck had been cast in Zack Snyder's rendition of The Dark Knight. And depending on what generation you're from and what kind of movies you enjoy, it's pretty much up in the air who your version of Batman would be. But one thing is for sure, Christopher Nolan's take on the Dark Knight trilogy and casting Christian Bale was an inspired choice that changed superhero movies forever. Now, me personally, I am forever a defender of Robert Pattinson's newest version of Batman. I'm a huge fan, but I gotta say, when it comes to Christian Bale and the Dark Knight movies, there's just something inside me that is on fire. So I thought it would be fun to do a special episode of Scene Breakdown today where we take a look at Batman's first appearance in all three of the Nolan movies. And I'm talking about the first time that we see full suited and booted Batman in these three movies. Then at the end, I'm gonna rank the order of which I like them, from least impactful to most impactful in my opinion. And for good measure, I have to throw in Batman's first big screen appearance in 1966, Batman the movie.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
So if you're ready, then drop a like on the video and don't forget to subscribe for the very best in movie content. I'm Kier with JoBlo Originals, and you're watching Scene Breakdown. Alright, I am super excited to get into these scenes, so a real quick breakdown of this trilogy. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises are directed by Christopher Nolan and written by him and his brother Jonathan Nolan. Nolan has a way of taking high concepts and crazy ideas and rooting them to the ground in this reality, and it is no different for the Dark Knight trilogy. I think this is definitely the most realistic Batman stuff we've ever gotten. And while I do love when it gets wacky and weird in other universes, for Nolan's trilogy, I happen to love the gritty, kind of dark and realistic tone that he set out to make.
Who are you?
Someone like you. Someone who'll rattle the cages.
Batman Begins is an origin story of Bruce Wayne as Batman. It covers the whole thing. In general, it is a pretty good movie. I love the casting of Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. I think that's genius. And I also love Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow, because who the f*** doesn't? So let's take a look at the scene.
Nice.
Right off the bat, one thing that I love that this movie does is it establishes the fear of the Batman. It establishes that he is lurking in the shadows, and this being his first outing, these assholes don't know what to expect. The Batarang. I love when you see Batman using gadgets in a movie. And in a movie like this, you know, it's pretty grounded, so you're not sure how much of it you're gonna get. This was nice. This was a good way to introduce the Batman.
Better check it.
I mean, it really kind of plays as a thriller. This is pretty intense stuff. Like, if this had just been branded as a Batman horror movie and all we saw was this clip, you might believe it.
Where are you?
Here.
Here. That was the first glimpse. This scene rules from here on out, I promise. It's just good to see that in Batman's first scene, we're really getting some action, some quality combat, because a lot of the movie up until this point, we see him training, you know, in the ways of martial arts and becoming a skilled fighter. It's nice to see all of that put to use in his very first scene. This is also one of those iconic suits that looked great. I remember when this movie came out, seeing that suit and thinking it looked so good and being stoked that the gold belt was still being represented. I was so happy about that.
What the hell are you? I'm Batman.
That is so good. I get chills. This was before Christian Bale went full like Doberman with his Batman voice. He was still a little bit more restrained in this one, which I really like. And the last time we had heard the words, "I'm Batman," coming from somebody, it was George Clooney in Batman and Robin.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
This is leagues better than that.
Nice coat.
And then just to add that little bit of levity at the end, nice coat, which of course, if you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly why he says that. All right, so that was Batman's entrance in Batman Begins. It did take the movie a little while to finally give us Batman, but I promise you guys, if you haven't seen the movie, it is well worth it. And the journey to getting to Batman is interesting. Okay, but now we are gonna look at Batman's first appearance in everyone's favorite Batman movie, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is an iconic film in and of its own. I mean, this movie, even if it was a standalone film, it was mind-blowing, the reception that this movie got. And honestly, it still deserves all of the praise and hype. The movie is just incredibly thrilling, and this was, of course, Heath Ledger's movie for the most part. This was really a chance for him to sink his teeth into that Joker role and show audiences why he was the right guy for the job. Because if you remember, the internet also was not happy to hear that Heath Ledger, teen heartthrob, would be showing up to play the Joker.
I mean, what happened? Your balls drop off?
But we're here to talk about Batman in this movie, so let's take a look at his entrance.
I told you my compound would take you places. I never said there'd be places you wanted to go.
I love that Scarecrow was brought back for this scene, and we see him again in Dark Knight Rises. He's in all three movies. I love that. It's just a nice through line. And, I mean, Cillian Murphy can't get enough of Cillian Murphy.
Pity there's only one of you.
Famous last words. That's what we call that. And that there is the moment that you know that that is not Batman. The guy's holding a pump action gun. Now, I actually really like this fake out. Christopher Nolan intentionally wanted us to believe that Batman was there, and then that he has some kind of special power that he can sneak around the entire garage in a split second. And by the time you see the gun, you know we're dealing with Batman imposters, which is a very interesting concept that had not been explored in live action until this point.
That's more like it.
The Bat Tumbler. I still don't know about the Bat Tumbler. You know, it's a tank basically, and I get that it's way more, I guess, practical, you know, because of the safeguards and whatever comes with it. It's a lot more, you know, safe than a car, I guess. But I like when Batman just has a car. You know what I mean? I like when the Batmobile looks like an automobile, not like a tank. I don't know how I feel about it. I do love that the car is set to like intimidate, you know, and loiter. I do like that. And there's finally Batman, the real Batman. This is before he gets the official Dark Knight suit upgrade, by the way. So the suit he's wearing in this scene is closer, way more similar to the suit from Batman Begins. I think Christian Bale had a nice tan for this scene. It's so good. I just can't wait to see it. Oh, maybe the coolest shot of Batman in the whole trilogy. I don't know. There's a lot of them.
What gives you the right? What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
I'm not wearing hockey pads. Obviously, that's really when Christian Bale started to do the voice, you know, the voice that he's now infamous for doing, which, you know, I personally actually don't have a problem with the voice itself. I understand. I mean, you obviously have to hide it and sound different, but the I'm not wearing hockey pads line, I think would have just been, if that was more smugly delivered, I think it would have really been the best button to that scene possible. But in general, I mean, come on, that scene, 5 stars across the board. It's iconic. I love it so much. Now let's get into Batman's intro scene when he finally returns in Dark Knight Rises. Kind of similar to Batman Begins, this is Batman's kind of reintroduction to the world. So again, they're kind of teasing it out. They're showing little glimpses of him, little glimpses of his cape or his motorcycle before we get that full shot. Sorry. I love it. Just the intimidation there, you know? Sorry. It's so good. I love it. I love it so much.
Let's go. You, in the car. They spotted the Batman.
What do you guys think about John Blake being Robin at the end, kind of Batman's new successor? I don't know how to feel. I really don't. I get why this is how Robin had to be handled if you're gonna do him, I guess, at this time, but I don't know. Especially with rumors now that Dick Grayson is supposed to be in the Batman 2, and we're getting Batman Brave and the Bold with Damian Wayne. A lot of Robin stuff, hopefully, on the horizon. I can kind of overlook this. A lot of chasing. It's a real big chase kind of scene, not a lot of combat. What a cast, you know? Christopher Nolan always gets great actors to be in his movies, I mean, for obvious reasons, but this cast is really loaded. I mean, getting Anne Hathaway to play Catwoman, like, that doesn't seem like something that you could get Anne Hathaway for.
Well, what do you know?
Oh, here we go. Whoops. Woo. I think also the Dark Knight Rises suit has grown on me quite a bit. You know, I used to just not be a fan of the Nolan suits in general, besides Batman Begins. I actually really liked that one. But then everything after that felt a little bit too tactile, a little bit too, like, you know, military, kind of with all the different, you know, muscle guards and all that stuff. But I still have the ones that I prefer, but this one, it is iconic. It's kind of hard to look at it now and not see Batman. For a movie as realistic as this, it is crazy to think that he could fire a cannon at a bunch of cars, nothing would explode, and it would just make a perfect ramp. But, you know, you have to overlook that, or else shit like that doesn't happen. And what good is a Batman movie without that? All right, let's take a quick look at the original Adam West introduction in 1966, The Batman.
With characteristic speed and resolve, descend promptly to the Batcave.
See, this is back when nobody had a problem with doing Robin in live action. They didn't care about how problematic it might look or seem, and personally, I miss that. I kind of just miss the whimsy of it all.
As they have done many times before, as Batman and Robin.
I mean, come on. Now, keep in mind, Adam West and Burt Ward had been doing the Batman series on TV already, so this was not the first time anybody saw them as these two characters. This is just a movie that's an extension of the show. And also, who doesn't love the Batcopter? And I love that it's not at Wayne Manor, it's like at the airport. He has to go to it. Okay, I think that is enough of that. Although I can really appreciate that movie, the scene kind of never ends. It just bleeds into the rest of the movie. Okay, so the moment you guys have all been waiting for is wanting to know my ranking. Now, of course, I'm not going to include Batman 66 in my ranking. I'm just going to be ranking Batman's entrance in the Nolan trilogies. And we're going to start with number 3, my least favorite. And that one, unfortunately, has to go to The Dark Knight Rises. I have my own things to say about the movie as a whole, but just judging that scene on its own merits, it is very drawn out, it does take a while to get to it, and there's not a lot of combat. There is action, of course, it's a chase scene, which is very fun, but at a certain point, when you're comparing it to the other two, there's just less Batman to kind of sink your teeth into for that one. Coming in at number 2, right in the middle, is gonna be Batman Begins. You probably could have guessed that, but I love the scene. I love the Batman suit. It's my favorite suit in the whole Nolan trilogy, and I love the dialogue. I just love the way the whole thing plays out. It's very scary, it's thrilling. I'm kind of talking myself into making it my number 1. No, I gotta stay on it. I gotta stay with number 2. Number 1, obviously by process of elimination, is The Dark Knight. And man, what an introduction to Batman. You get it all. You get returning characters like Scarecrow coming back. You get Batman imposters. Batman fights thugs. He fights dogs. He does Batman stuff. The cape comes into play. He uses gadgets. He uses the Batmobile. There's nothing not Batman about that scene. You literally get everything, and that is why it's well deserving of my favorite Batman intro scene in the Dark Knight trilogy. But of course, that's just my ranking. I want to know your guys' ranking. Let me know what your favorite Batman introduction scene is in the Nolan trilogy. Just rank them down in the comments, and as well, let me know what other stuff you would love to see me break down here on the channel. As always, don't forget to like the video and of course subscribe for the best in movie content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.